All right. I'd like to call to order the November 13th, 2023 meeting of the Orono School Board, and I'd like to ask Ms. Wallander to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Earlier tonight, we did not have anyone at our public comment session, so our next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any changes that anyone needs to make to the agenda? All right. So the next item is the consent agenda, which we will vote on. And the consent agenda contains routine matters that typically do not require board discussion. Individual board members may remove an item from the consent agenda for discussion or separate action. Tonight's consent agenda includes approving the minutes from our regular board meeting held on October 23rd, 2023, approving personnel recommendations, accepting donations totaling $15,837.28, approving the cooperative agreement between Delano High School in speech for the 23-24 school year, and approving bill vouchers, EP register, the EFT vouchers, and our Capital One spending. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. Now, we have the superintendent's report on excellence. Dr. Flesher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, AP Scholars and Tenure Ceremony. Just before this meeting, we were thrilled to celebrate our National Merit semifinalists, National Merit Commended Scholars, AP Scholars with distinction, and then students also earning AP Capstone diplomas. We also honored the achievements of Madeline Dorr, who, in addition to several other honors, earned a perfect score on the AP Research exam, only one of 357 students in the world to earn this score. Congratulations to all of our students. It was an amazing evening. And we also recognized 9 teachers in the Orono schools who earned tenure. We honor their dedication and exemplary work on behalf of our entire learning community. A huge thank you to their respective mentors who guided them through their first years here in Orono, and also to everyone in the staff and families and entire learning community for showing out tonight. It was a great ceremony. Fall activities update. There's a lot to talk about. First of all, we'll start with the fall musical Bright Star is playing at Orono High School. Our students were amazing. I attended opening night, and it was extremely well done. There are 3 more performances this week. Boys soccer won the state quarterfinal against Northfield 1-0 in an overtime, defeated De La Salle 4-3 in the state semifinal, and was lost then to Hill Murray in a fast-paced and relentless match, finishing second in the state. Congratulations to the team, coaches, and to the following players for being named to the Class AA All-Tournament team: Lyle Sherwin, Nate Halloff, and Elliot Tisdale. Next, on football, they headed into the 6 4A section tournament, and they defeated Providence 37-15 and beat Delano 35-14 to win the section's championship and advance to the state tournament. Unfortunately, the boys lost to Rocori in the state quarterfinal game, but we are so pleased with the team's success this year. Congratulations to players and coaches from football and soccer. They had an outstanding year. Girls and boys cross country teams also advanced to the state Class AA state tournament racing at the University of Minnesota on November 4th. We're so proud that the girls team qualified for state for the first time as a team, finishing 12th place. Boys cross-country team finished 4th place at state. Gabe Hallen finished 15th individually, earning all-state honors. Congratulations to an outstanding season for both teams, and our coaches Addie Hallen, Speedy McCullough, Katie Leslie, Nate Porter, and Nate Uselding. Girls swim and dive also just won over the weekend the Section 3A championship in Wilmer. The girls had an outstanding showing in the pool with several section championship races. The following swimmers, and this is a list, will be competing at the state tournament in these events. In the 200-meter relay, Riley Anderson, Celia Howard, Soph Berg, and Lila James. 200 free, Grayson Andreen was also a section champion. Lola Schlatter. 200 IM Mallory Knudsen and Riley Anderson. 50 free Ellie Davis. 100 fly Grayson Andreen, again section champion. 100 free Ellie Davis. 500 free Lola Schlatter, section champion, Mallory Knudsen. 200 free relay L Davis. Lila James, Mallory Knudsen, Grayson Andreen, also section champion relay team. 100 back, Riley Anderson, and then the 400 free relay, L Davis, Lola Schlatter, Mallory Knudsen, Grayson Andreen, also the section champion relay team. Congratulations and job really well done, and we wish them luck on their next adventures at another state tournament. Also, girls hockey started their season over the weekend and tied Simley on Saturday. Congratulations, they're off to a great start. I also wanted to offer a note of gratitude for the Orono High School Student Voice Club. They worked so hard to create an interactive event on Halloween that celebrated National Hispanic Heritage Month. There was dancing, food, projects, and a lot of fun for students and staff. And finally, just wanted to mention that we held a Veterans Day program. We were very pleased to welcome guests to our annual Veterans Day program in the high school on last Friday. I want to thank Julie Moskusky, Mayor of Maple Plain, for her outstanding work in organizing the event, this event with Dr. Amy Steiner and Mr. Jeff Amon. It really was an outstanding event. We heard from our Orono alum, Sergeant Chris Spacek, who committed to the Marine Corps as a senior in high school and is now a reservist. He recounted his training and his experience as a Marine and reminded us all to understand and to thank a veteran for their service and sacrifice. In addition to the honored veterans, we had our American Legion Post, we had Rotary Club from Orono, the high school chamber choir did a lovely medley of all armed services songs with Director Nicole Brenna and accompanist Mark Hemingway. We also had Hennepin County Commissioners, state representatives, senators, school board members, and mayors of almost all of our communities, as well as our local police chiefs from West Hennepin, Hennepin County, and Orono police chief. And it was just an incredibly positive event. I think the best part was spontaneously students came down and shook the hand of our servicemen. So it was, I think, very moving and important to honor all of our veterans. And that concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Flesher. All right, so Ms. Wallander, you're going to start tonight on board reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I had the privilege of, along with you and Ms. Board Chairs and Mr. Madsen and several administrators and other staff, to attend a preview of the high school musical and get a tour of their new AV system. It was fantastic. That was made possible due to a donation from the Orono Foundation. They were able to upgrade a lot of their AV equipment, and they showed us how that was making a real impact for them, and they were working so hard, and they just had an amazing product, so that was a lot of fun to do. And I also was able to attend an arena board meeting, and we got a tour of their new cooling system, which is about a quarter of the size it used to be, much more efficient. So that was really exciting to see, going to be much better for the environment. And everything is moving along. Hockey season is starting, so they're busy over there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Lunsgaard.
So last week I was able to attend the Association of Metropolitan School Districts meeting. First on the agenda was we reviewed their legislative platform. This is a policy year, not a budget year. And so Orono Action will be reviewing that the priorities and forming our own platform. We also learned about proposed hearings that are scheduled at the legislature this year. Very interesting. We'll see what happens. There's another budget surplus, so even though it's technically not a budget year, there will be a lot of people vying for the money left. And finally, we learned a lot about the University of Minnesota Principal Survey and Focus Group results, along with research on principal impact and student achievement. Really diving into different school leadership models that the U is going to be kind of test driving. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I attended Orono Healthy Youth on October 24th, And Ali Chorley presented on the Orono Partnership for Youth, which is the community-based coalition that engages multiple sectors of the community to address youth substance abuse and mental health in our community. And this is funded by the federal grant that we recently received. So it was a great presentation, kind of an overview of what we can expect. At the time that Ali had presented, or Ms. Chorley, it sounded like they were beginning the assembly of the coalition, and I believe they're going to be meeting relatively soon. So it's exciting to see how that work will progress, and I look forward to hearing about the important work that they do. I also attended the Special Education Parent Partnership Committee meeting on November 10th, where Dr. Ruland did a nice presentation on a summary of the READ Act. And we had two Orono students, Victor Ruland was one of them, who did a great presentation on the Unified Program and answered some of our parents' questions, so that was really great. And then I also attended the Bright Star musical this past weekend, and I have to say it was lovely. It was an amazing job. So if you haven't been, go. It was really, really great. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Sarah?
Would you like to do policy or facilities and finance?
Let's do policy first.
Well, policy, as always, is included in your packet. There's really, it's a very streamlined process where whatever you guys see is exactly what we talked about. So that's what it is.
Can I make a policy comment? So
Absolutely.
when you look at the transportation stuff, one of the things to note, look at the back of each of those policies, how extensive the list is on state legislation. Who knew that there could be so much legislation about buses? But there's a lot of legislation involved in this, and it was surprisingly complex.
And far more procedural than most of our policies, but that is by design from the state level. Do you want? No,
Well, you want to do finance now, or?
no. I thought you could take the lead on that one if you want.
Sure, I'll do finance.
Thank you.
So we had a finance committee meeting last week, and so the federal government did something different this year. They normally audit special education, and they said, let's audit food service instead, just because.
Well, because we have more money from the federal
Yes,
government.
we have more money from the federal government, but still, so does everybody. But they decided to audit the food service, and overall, the audit was fine. It was amazing, kind of the nitpicky things that they were able to find. I think that's, any auditor needs to do that to just sort of justify the process. But it was a very good process, and we got a very, the administrators were very open with us about what the issues were and how they're being corrected. So we're very happy with that. Again, it's amazing the rules how complex it could be to just have concessions at football and basketball games. And so they've changed the rules on that a little bit, and great work with Dr. Steiner and the booster groups and everything to make those changes that we need to make just to comply with the rules related to selling candy bars. Who knew it could be so hard? And they're just finishing up the audit. The plan is that we will have the auditors meet in detail with our finance committee prior to our December meeting, and then at our December meeting, we will have the auditors here to present the audit from the 22-23 school year for us. Okay, so we've got policy and finance now. Do you want to talk about other stuff?
That concludes my report.
Okay, so I have a couple hundredths of a second. So it was a very close, but their section victory was last race, hundredths of a second. So that was kind of neat. Finally, as you know, we're kind of in this first to second stage of our strategic planning process. And so I'm going to ask each of us in the next month or so to go meet with our local city councils to invite larger community presentations. Now don't worry, Lisa will give us some stuff some tools that we can use, but that all of us need to go meet with our local city councils. Again, we want to, as part of that strategic planning process, as a community, beyond just the school district family of people, but to get the cities involved. And so be asking each of us to meet with our local city councils. And that's all. Yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
So I believe, and please clarify, that November 17th was the deadline for the survey and the applications, correct?
I think we may have left the survey open longer.
Is it open?
Yeah,
Okay.
the survey's open longer, but the applications are going to be done
you want to?
The reason I,
Well, just to tell remind people what that is,
The applications?
well, on the survey.
The survey is for anybody in the entire community, parents, community members to give us feedback on the strategic direction, and we do have a QR code. It was also a pop-up on the website, so if you're listening, please check the website. And we can leave that survey open
Okay.
certainly till the end of the month easily.
great, thank you.
Any other board member comments or questions? All right, our next item is our old business, and the first item there is policy review of the second reading of several of our policies. Dr. Flesher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Up for action tonight would be policy 701, 2, 3, 704, 705, and 706. They're not any significant or substantial revision, so they are ready for action.
All right, do I have a motion to approve policy 701, 702, 703, 704, 705, and 706?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions?
No, just continued gratitude to the policy committee for getting through all this. Thank you very much.
All right, let's vote. All in favor of approving the policies, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the approval of those 6 policies passes. Is there any other old business that anyone wants to bring up? Okay, let's move on to new business, which is policy review of the first reading of some policies. Dr. Flesher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I invite Dr. Scott Alger, Executive Director of Human Resources, to the board table for discussion and brief remarks regarding the 4 policies in the 700 series for your review. These policies include Policy 707, Transportation of Public School Students, 708, Transportation of Non-Public School Students, Policy 709, Student Transportation Safety Policy, and Policy 710, Extracurricular Transportation. Again, my gratitude to our committee for their work and review, and turn it over to Dr. Alger for comments.
Thank you, Dr. Flesher, Mr. Chair, and members of the board. Tonight, as Dr. Flesher indicated, the policy committee brings 4 additional policies from the 700 series, which is non-instructional operations and business services. And Mr. Bash earlier indicated also that the focus of the policies for tonight's first reading from this series is transportation. Policy 707, Transportation of Public School Students. First of all, the MSBA model policy and the district's current policy are fairly well aligned. Where language is not aligned precisely, the policy committee is recommending in most cases to incorporate the MSBA proposed revisions. One change is the shift away from the use of all forms of the word handicapped to forms of the word disabled, including disabling, disability. So you'll see that in the red line version that was presented to you. In section 7, pertaining specifically to students with disabilities, the committee recommends expanding letter E with a sentence from the MSBA model which provides parameters for observing court orders in unique cases. The committee also provided a minor revision to the final paragraph in section 9. Beyond these changes, you'll notice in the red line version, many revisions to statutory references, as well as the deletion of cross-references at the end of the policy. And that has been the policy committee's standard practice to eliminate cross-references between different school district policies. Policy 708, Transportation of Non-Public School Students. In this policy, the committee recommends an expansion of section 3. The additional paragraphs provide details about the implementation of written plans and contractual agreements for the delivery of transportation services to non-public students as necessary. And during the most recent meeting, the policy committee members were able to hear assurances from Mr. Jim Westrom, the Director of Business Services, about the district's compliance in this area. In section 4 of, still in policy 708, one paragraph from the current district policy pertaining to transporting students with disabilities was preferred by the committee over the corresponding language from the MSBA model policy. And of course, the deletion of cross-references at the end of the policy is also recommended. Policy 709 is student transportation safety. In most cases, changes proposed by MSBA were accepted by the committee and have been incorporated into the red line version. One example is under section 2, where language is recommended for inclusion. You're gonna have to follow me on my next couple of descriptions of points, but one example is under section 2, where language is recommended for inclusion under the letter C in the outline. That letter leads with the title Active Transportation Safety Training. And similarly, in section 5.7, 8, and 9 have been added under the letter C. As you will see in the red line version, multiple lines from the MSBA model policy have also been added under section 7. And cross-references have been deleted. And lastly, policy 710 is extracurricular transportation. In this policy, the only significant recommended change is the removal of the policy cross-references at the end. So with that, the policy committee looks forward to feedback from board members prior to a second reading at the next school board meeting.
So on a night that you just want to have a nice, even, relaxing, read about transportation policy. You'll learn more than you ever would have imagined about the rules that you can have about a school bus. Thank you, Dr. Alger.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
So we will vote on these the next time at our December meeting. All right, the next item on our agenda is a resolution to support application to the Minnesota State High School League Foundation for a Form A grant to offset student activities fees. Dr. Flesher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an action item, and the Minnesota State High School League Foundation is encouraging each school district to seek students in grades 9 through 12 whose family income may be limited and encourage them to participate in athletics and fine arts programs in their school community, which is a really good thing. The Minnesota State High School League Foundation seeks to assist districts in their continuing efforts to engage more students in these programs. So the adoption of Form A would offer the district a grant for those students to make them able to participate in activities at a reduced cost. So the State High School League Foundation Board of Directors has determined they would use students who've had been eligible for free and reduced lunch for classification purposes. And this is for your consideration tonight.
I meant to ask this earlier. We already have a practice of being able to do that, correct?
Correct.
Is that something that we do through the school itself, Dr. Steiner, or is that something through the foundation? Through the school? Okay. So this is in addition to what we're already doing? Okay. Well, again, I think the more students we can get to participate in any athletic or
Absolutely. Any
artistic
activities.
any activity is what we want to do. So this
Community
is,
education has a long practice of helping ensure participation.
okay. All right. So do I have a motion that we approve this application to the Minnesota State High School League Foundation?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you very much for bringing that up to us. The next item is just going to be fascinating. A presentation from Dr. Flesher and the staff on navigating the college admissions landscape.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have an entire team here tonight, and I welcome them all to the board table for presentation and in an update regarding our study of college admissions. I want to introduce our team and make a few remarks. Welcome Dr. Aaron Ruland, Executive Director of Learning and Accountability, Dr. Amy Steiner, Orono High School Principal, Ms. Tiffany Clifton, Director of Community Education, and Ms. Brandy Randall, Orono High School and Middle School Gifted and Talented Coordinator. I also want to thank the entire study team that's behind these four working on reviewing our current support model, outcomes, marketing strategies, as well as studying best practices across the country. Lisa Campbell has been significantly involved for everything from website redesign, and as you will see, some of the new marketing strategies. We started our work last spring and summer and are here to provide an update of our learnings and our marketing strategies. We're excited to share early findings. We know we're just partway through, but pleased with the results of the summer and fall work, and I turn it over to start with Dr. Ruland.
We'll let those drop. Maybe as we're getting set up, a quick public service announcement that the strategic plan website is directly linked from the front of the website. Thank you to Lisa Campbell. So any community members that are interested in either the survey or application to the committee, there's a pop-up when you go onto the website. We'd invite that.
Can I just suggest that since I missed the last meeting trying to watch it remotely, suggestion, move the microphone as close to you as the speaker as you can. It does make a difference.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We're actually going to start tonight by tying this work to organizational purpose. As we reflect on our organizational purpose, and we think about our core distinctive competencies, relationships, the individualized service and support we provide to students, college admissions is well positioned to align with that philosophy. And we think it reflects our deep commitment to students and families, to being prepared for any post-secondary experience in life. So our purpose guides this work. We also believe that this study of college admissions reflects our commitment to continuous improvement. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about some early data, some early work. Please know that this is at a formative stage and at a really exciting point. So as we've dug further, we also recognize that colleges are also thinking along these same lines. They're looking for students that are a great fit, who they ultimately will offer admission to with the hope and the expectation that they'll retain them, that they'll succeed in those post-secondary institutions, they'll ultimately graduate and be successful in life. So we're both working to the same end, and this is really a symbiotic relationship that hopefully will come to life tonight. So our mission of our students maximizing their potential in life because of their experiences in Orono schools, and that concept of opening doors is really integral to this work. In particular, in the area of college admissions, we know that part of opening doors is understanding the changing context of college admissions. So we've been looking at this for quite a long period, trying to understand that and to do best by our students. So that challenge involves lots of changes over in recent times. Things like test optional practices from universities, which look a little paradoxical to us. While colleges aren't requiring tests in many cases, what we're finding is that as less students submit them, they're only the students that are getting extremely high scores. So those practices are evolving, and we have to keep an eye on that. The recent Supreme Court decision and the impact on how student diversity will be addressed by schools is going to be an important variable for us to stay on top of. We also know that in addition to post-COVID learning challenges, that college attendance overall is down, and that schools are being impacted differentially. So that concept of bifurcation at admissions plays out. If you saw the Star Tribune this weekend, there was an article about Bemidji State and their struggles to maintain enrollment. In fact, they're down quite a bit in recent times. The need to make cuts and the struggle of regional universities and small liberal arts universities to remain solvent. While simultaneously, the highly competitive schools, in some cases, and the larger schools, are getting more applicants than they've ever received, further driving down admission rates and impacting student opportunity. So a crucial part of this study is for us to understand how we navigate that. Most importantly, though, is our profile of a graduate. So we know that if we are preparing well-rounded students who have the pillars of character, scholarship, social-emotional learning skills, all those attributes that are going to make them successful in life, that will also lead to college admissions. So we start with developing great kids, and college admissions will follow. So we have a whole team working on this. This is a team that includes all the members of our high school counseling and mental health team, which is incredible, support staff who are integral to student success, principals and district leaders who are committed to opening doors, and to the holistic success of students. So not every member of this team is currently participating in the study team, but they are contributing in a myriad of ways. And these are the elements that we'll be looking at and we'll be talking about specifically tonight. So at its core, this is a learning process. So tonight you're going to hear about some early admissions outcome data, some of our marketing efforts, relationship development work that we're doing with colleges, and some community education supplementary supports that are in development, and we have some exciting things to share in that realm as well. So I get to talk about data, my favorite thing. We did do some early study of admissions to highly selective schools, and that's one of the areas that's been probably most widely discussed is the changing landscape of admission to highly selective schools. So we took an early look at this data, and we're really pleased to find continued exceptional outcomes for our students. Our students are getting into highly selective schools, and we have a few data sets to share. So we looked at the top 40 schools that were considered most competitive in Barron's ratings. We cross-referenced that with the U.S. News and World Report of the 2024 top national and liberal arts universities, top national and then top national liberal arts universities. So ultimately that came down, there were about 30 national liberal arts and 37 national that met both those criterion. And as we look at our student performance in admissions, we had Orono students were accepted to 93% of the most selective national universities, and 83% of the most selective national liberal arts universities. It represented schools from around the country. Students are going to places around the country and around the world, frankly. And our Orono student acceptance rate was higher than the norm at 78% of those colleges, and we were higher than the norm at every Ivy League school. So a lot to be proud of there. When we look at that data over a longer period, the results get even better. So those few schools that we didn't get students into, if you look at it over a longer period, we did prior to that 10-year period.
Dr. Rulon, can you just clarify those first two bullets, the acceptance numbers?
Yep.
Does that mean that our students applied to all of those schools, or is there some of that we just didn't have anyone apply to a specific school?
We did have applicants to every one of those, I believe, and maybe Brandy can verify that too, yeah.
Okay, I just
Yep.
wasn't sure whether it was possible that the reason that wasn't 100% was that there may have been a school that no Orono graduate chose to apply to.
One of the challenges is that the numbers vary pretty dramatically. There are a few on that list where it might be just a handful of kids over a 10-year period.
10 years.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the other way we dug in on this and one of the things we learned was that there's quite a bit of variability within highly selective colleges. But even if you look at the data this way, Orono results are still exceptional. So in the middle, you see categories of school admission, and it's rates ranging from about 2% to about 5.9% of students being admitted, down to the range of 20 to 33. And then we also looked at the categories of Ivy League schools, top national universities, top liberal arts, and then service academies. So this chart gives you a pretty good idea of variability. On the left is the overall median school in that category, and then their admission rate. On the right is the median for Orono in that category and the admission rate. So as an example, in the schools with the most challenging admission rates, the median school is MIT, and about 4% of applicants to MIT are admitted. In Orono, that median school in that top category is Harvard, and about 5% of our students are admitted to Harvard. In every one of these categories, our admission rates were higher than the norm. A couple other examples, if you go down to that, least selective part of the most selective schools. In the median schools, it's the University of California, San Diego campus. 24% of overall applicants get into that. For Orono, that college is Smith College in Massachusetts, and we had 50% of our applicants over a 10-year period admitted, which is an extremely high rate. So again, those schools are typically in the 20 to 33% range. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we're better than the norm at all the Ivy League schools. We beat the top national universities by 2 times as high, and national liberal arts really by quite a large margin. And then service academies actually is our strongest performance in these categories. So the median in that category was West Point at 12%. Ours was Air Force at 80%. We actually had 3 out of 3 students who applied to West Point get in. So we're doing extremely well in that area as well. So this is one early data point. It's indicative of the work to come in the study. We also believe it's symbolic of our continuous improvement. So as we've had our early meetings, we've had a lot of conversation about what data do we need to collect, how do we need to dig in, and how do we do best by our students. So go ahead.
I would just add, one of the interesting things that we came across just in getting this information is the vast differences on where it's published. And so we're thinking about our consumers and, where they're getting information, and even, we could look from one source to the other and there's as much as 10-point difference. So this you pulled from Common Data Set, or
Yes.
Mostly, which
From
is
the
the
actual
most.
university.
It
college.
changes every year. They put out a new information based on the prior class. But even within that, we've seen great variation from the data they publish from one year to the next. So getting our hands on those changes is just really informational and helpful in being able to guide kids.
The other thing that I would add is that we have typically looked at enrollment, and this is admissions, which is very different.
Acceptance.
Yes, acceptance. So yes, were you accepted instead of just enrolled? Because we have a lot of students that get accepted that could have gone but choose not to. So that's one of the things that's a little bit different in this analysis, is to really be able to look at each student. We actually poured over all of the applications in the last decade of Orono schools to take a look at. And I also applaud the group that did this, because it's, to be open about what we were going to find. And we were honestly really pleased to see so many of these places, it's 2 and 3 times the admission rates are for Spartans.
All right, well, as Dr. Rulin said, our work at Orono High School aligns with the district mission to maximize students' potential in life because of their experience in Orono High School. And part of that is opening doors and focusing on our college preparation and planning. And always maintaining a focus on excellence in that process. So at Orono High School, we have worked to increase access to advanced placement courses, as well as increasing course offerings. And including with that increase of offerings, support, adding some supports for our students who are, especially those first-time advanced placement course takers. And it's also important that we open other post-secondary pathways for our students. So instead of only advanced placement, we look at post-secondary enrollment options, Hennepin Technical College, concurrent enrollment, and Project Lead the Way, because we know that every student has a different path. And that just gives them access to some college level or college preparation level courses. And of course, also we look at our school counselor support. And that school counselor support really begins in 9th grade at Orono High School, begins in 8th grade actually also. And our counselors work with students beginning in parent night right at the beginning of the school year. This year, a really exciting thing that they're doing, and they started it probably a week or 2 ago, is 45-minute meetings with families, freshman students and their families. It really gives them an opportunity to get to know students earlier and get to know them better on a deeper level, as well as their families, and which is really helpful as they're working through that personalized learning plan. Students in 9th grade also work on discovering their strengths. And that ties into the 10th grade year, where they look at different career options and how those strengths can tie into different career clusters, and what careers might be out there that would work with their strengths. 10th graders also look at their pre-ACT data. They start to look at kickoff to college planning, which is offered to students and parents in the spring. And their junior year, we have more parent nights, and that is when counselors really dig into that college search criteria. They're looking at how their strengths and interests and passions align with different colleges and what those colleges are looking for in students. And again, that kickoff to college planning. And then finally, in the senior year, it actually begins in the summer. They offer a summer college application boot camp for students. Senior English classes begin working on college essays right at the beginning of the year, and counselors work with students for college planning meetings where they sit down with them, go through My Learning, look at the colleges that they're interested in, ones they've picked, and really get deep into that college application process. There's also parent meetings, financial aid presentation, for example. And there's a picture actually on the screen of a new thing this year that they rolled out to seniors. It's the college application process flow chart, so it's kind of an interactive thing for students to go through, and it's really just in hopes to clarify that process. And we know that students are in different places. I sat in on a college senior meeting with a counselor early in the year, early October. And they already had a lot of schools, and they knew where they were applying. They had completed some of the applications, and some students just aren't there. So this flow chart allows them to work at their own pace and really personalizes it and individualizes it as well.
Dr. Steiner, can I ask?
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
When, I'm clearly not in the college process yet, when-ish are college applications, when do they start accepting colleges, start accepting applications?
Yeah, well, they start
Typic-
accepting early, but the first sort of deadline is November 1st.
Okay.
Especially if you're looking at early decision and stuff, but students can start submitting prior, September, October.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Steiner, so as a parent that went through this twice, one of the things you do, even after you've done it the second time and think you sort of know what you're doing, is you always wonder, what did I miss? Do you interview outgoing families and ask them that to say, what did you, we all think our kids went to great schools and had, hopefully good experiences. But have you talked to families that afterwards that say, what did I think I missed or potentially missed in the process?
Yeah, we do. Anecdotally, we don't have a process for it. We do have focus groups. I think Dr. Real mentioned that a little earlier with our graduates when they come back to see, are they at a school where it's a good fit? Are they happy with their decision? Are they happy with the school life and their involvement there? Which is really good feedback for us as well. Because again, we know that when we talked about admitting students versus accepting students, some students get accepted to colleges that may be seen as very selective or highly desirable, and maybe for some reasons they aren't attending there. Maybe it's family or location or whatever, so that's really good information for us as well. And overall, that feedback has been really positive, that students have been very happy with the preparation as well as where they've attended.
Because as you know, all parents think that their athletic children are future D1 athletes, and they think their acting children are future Broadway stars. And you often, when that doesn't happen, you think, did I do something wrong?
So another thing we do that maybe you're going to mention is the counseling department does a survey, and I don't know, Brandy, maybe if you want to talk to it too, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so after the end of the year, once decision day happens, which is usually in May, the school counselors do put out a survey to all students. We've, in recent years, pushed pretty hard on getting them to indicate the outcomes of all their decisions. In the past, there would be data, any given year where they maybe applied to a school, but we didn't get that result. They didn't share that with us. Right now, we invite them in, and if they don't do the survey, we'll invite them in personally to give us responses for all those decisions, because that data informs us in in making recommendations for other students. But as part of that process, they also complete a survey that asks them about the whole process, starting from the beginning, what they thought of the level of support that we provided or the counselors provided in identifying lists of schools, what level of support for completing applications, for financial aid, and just so we're always trying to get that information. Interestingly, after the fact, when they do it in May, 95% are super happy and satisfied. They've made their decision and they've come to terms with it. And so we couldn't be more happy about that data. We've wondered, if we asked them at a different time in the year, the feedback could be very different. But so far, we are trying to dig into those individual areas and see if there are any that maybe need a little more support.
And we've done we didn't intend to spend a lot of time on the recent graduate focus groups tonight because we've talked to the board about them, but just super high level summary. We've done recent graduate focus groups 3 times over the last 10 to 15 years. And each time, kids from a variety of different post-secondary experiences, and the results have been overwhelmingly positive about preparation, fit, success. So that would be one corroborating data point over time.
From students, yeah. All right, so another area that we are looking at and studying is our marketing and communications for families. We've developed a new website for the college planning process, and it includes the critical role of our school counselors, which of course includes all of these 6 areas. Tonight we're going to highlight that college and career planning, but a big thank you to Lisa Campbell, who worked on this, who worked on a lot of our marketing materials. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. This includes a new counseling website specific to the college and career planning. And on that website, we actually also have our high school planning guide, and I believe you have copies of that on your tables. The high school planning guide is really a great roadmap for students and parents starting in 9th grade. It's something that all families should check out. It's just really helpful as they go through the process. It tells you what to expect each year, some things that the students can do, some things for parents to think about, but also what you can expect in terms of support from the school and from our counselors.
Can I just say, Dr. Steiner, on the previous slide, that email had that and was sent to all Orono High School families with the planning guide in as a separate attachment so that families could have that. It went out, I think, about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yep. Really good information for families. And that's just some of the highlights from that college planning guide. Again, it talks about different options, admissions criteria, researching schools, and finding that fit. And then what to do once you are a senior and really getting into that search. But also, like I said, starting with 9th grade, it has some things that students can do and think about. It's really a comprehensive guide.
One more comment that was, I think, some really incredible summer work that Dr. Steiner led with and Brandy with the counseling team to put together that. That's brand new this fall for families.
And
It's revised.
I just want to reflect on your earlier comment around talking with recent graduates and surveying the immediate, almost graduates in May. I think one of the strengths of Orono that we work very hard on is relationship building. And I think what we've experienced as a family going through this is that it is a process of finding the schools and the opportunities for the kids that are the right fit. And the reason you can do that is because you've built this relationship and these trusted adults, a network of people who know these kids. And so while there may be a variety of reasons that they may not pick what is deemed as the most selective school, it's maybe because it wasn't a right fit. And I feel like Orono does an excellent job of supporting that child in the best fit for them, given their circumstances. And I just want to call out, because that pressure to do something different is great, and sometimes probably come at you in various ways, from whether it's parents or community members or when you're at a conference or anything like that. So I just wanted to recommend, or to thank you for that focus, that seeing kids who they are and how they can really be successful. So thank you.
Thank
So part of our study also includes developing and further enhancing our relationships with colleges. And that includes getting to know colleges as well and what their fit is for students. So not only do we need to know our students really well to know what they want, but also what are some of the finer points of colleges and universities that are important to our students and could determine whether it's a fit or not. So part of this is an admissions marketing packet, and this is really included in our relationship process. It reflects all of the points of pride and excellence of Orono High School and Orono School District. This is a new document, and it will be mailed, delivered electronically to colleges and schools, as well as I'll talk in a little bit about visiting colleges. That's another part of our emphasis is visiting colleges that we know that our students go to, but also that we know maybe need to know a little bit more about us and who we are and who our students are and the profile of an Orono graduate. So since COVID, we've really started ramping up our tours again, and these are just some of the tours that our counselors went on last year. A lot of selective schools, a variety of schools all across the United States, so really helpful.
Can I make one more comment that one of the things that changed is that COVID changed that landscape too for us. Colleges weren't coming, and some of them have restarted, but not all. So that's been a new landscape for us, as well as some of them now hold something potentially in the Twin Cities, but not necessarily coming out to Orono like they used to. And some colleges not coming anywhere any longer, because if you're getting 60,000 applicants, you may not need to. So that's, I think, a new challenge. So, and then there was a period of time when we were unable, or there wasn't traveling, and they weren't welcoming tours from any school staff or even students. So that's new. And during that time, you have a turnover in the college admissions officers at various colleges, and so trying to restart those relationships has been real for us and really critically important. So I'm grateful for these restarted tours.
Right, and that's something we're going to continue to do more of, and administrators will be going on trips as well as we look forward. But right now I'm going to turn it over to Brandy Randall, our gifted and talented specialist, and she's going to talk about her experience specifically with one of these tours.
Thank you. Again, I'm grateful to be here and feel very fortunate to work with such very smart and caring people. I love that we've been doing this work for a long time, but that we still pause to think, well, how could we be even better? And so it's fun to see the data Erin showed and to realize, oh, we're doing pretty darn good. But knowing that, there are some things that we can do different. And so we're really trying to be vulnerable there and explore both the good and maybe areas of growth. And so part of that has been with the counselor visits, there's different types of visits. So some of the visits that were taken last year by our counselors were sponsored through the Excellence Grant, through the foundation. And so they kind of designed their own visit where they could really target some of those more highly competitive schools that we know students are interested in. Sometimes they're visits where we're invited and the college picks up the tab because they want to hear about our program, and we've maybe done something that has stood out. And so the visit I was able to go on, which kind of just happened by luck, another counselor was going to be attending and then wasn't able to make it. And so as long as it was still a counselor within our school, they allowed us to go. So the visit I went to was the University of Texas, Dallas, which when you hear that, I wouldn't have thought much. It wouldn't have been a school on my radar or a place I would maybe mention for a student to attend, but we were invited, and we were one of the very only small number of schools that were public schools. So I got down there, and it was with a bunch of counselors from highly competitive private schools, boarding schools, and different public schools that do selective admission, so kind of charter school type places. And realized very quickly that we were invited because of the work we've done in opening access and really promoting excellence. So they're looking at those lists, the US News list, the AP honor rolls, those kinds of things are getting not only our students recognized, but our schools recognized. So to be able to be invited to go hear entirely about a scholarship program, that was pretty cool. Was life-changing to me. I will say we do have one student who is applying to that program, and as prior to that, I don't know that we've ever had any. But this is a program that's entirely, 100% tuition plus some, but there's a service requirement involved, so they're really being connected to a community at a very intimate level amongst another group of scholars. So to learn about that, I think that's one of the benefits of going on those trips, is to learn that even, whether it's the top 5% or the next 10% of selective admissions, most schools have unique programs within them, honors programs or different programs of study based on major, living cohort, those kinds of things. And some of that you can read about, but some of that you don't necessarily get unless you're there. So Dallas, for example, I wouldn't have realized that they didn't have a football team, but they have a chess team, and their chess team's like the #1 chess team in the world. So, and they own that, and it becomes pretty apparent just walking down campus. So I wouldn't have recommended that school to anyone, but immediately walking around there, I could think of, in my head, a couple kids who, boy, this could be a good fit. And so I think those are the kind of things you get out of doing those visits. It also gives us the chance to get in front of colleges and share the great things we're doing. Sometimes they've already known it, but sometimes, bringing our marketing information. And then I guess the third thing, or next thing, would be asking really direct questions from admissions officers. If you can get someone one-on-one, that'll give you some time. They can answer some of those subtle nuances about how they are going about looking at applications, the changes they're having. I did get to go on a visit last year to Madison, and we talked to a representative there, and we really kind of pushed on the whole test optional thing. And it was interesting to learn that truly fewer than half of the kids now getting into Madison are submitting scores. We're like, really, are they not submitting? And really, they're not submitting scores. But then sharing that the average of the scores that are being submitted, has increased significantly. So learning those things that you don't necessarily get by like diving deep into a website. So then the final thing there, I would say, it allows us to make a recommendation for a kid. Not that I would want to presume, or our counselors presume, like this is what, this is your list, you should apply to these schools, but being able to say, have you ever thought about this school? You're interested in this, this, and this, and knowing what that is. So that's the benefit. We did talk a little bit earlier today about this concept of fit around institutional mission. And, you would think, a lot of the missions read the same. But if you really get into that, the feel is quite different. And again, that's something you don't always get by just reading the mission, but often you can get it by being there in person. And so again, that just helps us make better recommendations for students. So I would thank you for the opportunity to allow me to go, and the opportunity that we've been given to have our counselors do all those visits.
Oh, it's okay. So excited to share a little bit about how Community Ed is going to be joining in partnership and collaboration. If you want to go to the next slide. Doing some additional support. So when we were involved in this study last spring, we were looking at how does Community Ed currently support high school students in this area. We know, as we've heard and seen today, that we have an amazing high school staff that and guidance staff that are doing amazing work supporting all of our students, but we also know sometimes there might be additional needs above and beyond that, more specific for individual. And so when looking at that, we did some vendor interviews and looking around at organizations that provide some of that individual support for families. We did a nationwide search on a variety of different vendors, and we looked from West Coast, East Coast, and we ended up finding College Connectors, which is right here in Edina. They're based out of here. They've been here for 20 years, used by some Orono families, and their mission and values really align with the mission and values that we have. And so we're really excited to join them in a partnership, and in our conversations that we've had, it's really been about that partnership and that collaboration of how are we working together in a holistic approach. We know the amazing resources that are provided within the school day, within our amazing guidance office. How are we adding supplemental and really complementing that addition or that work that's already being done? And so that more information to come. So we're really excited about what that's going to look like. And so we are in the process of.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
The vendor interviews was fascinating. Yeah, in terms of, because we know a lot of our families have used some kind of help for college admission support. And that's true of, I would say, almost every public school and in the metro area, at least the West Metro area. But Tiffany did a really great job on some of the national, from across all over the place, spending time and looking at what would be their proposal to be a supplementary support here, and listening to how they help and how they conceptualize college admissions was also really, I would say, incredible learning. I would say even one of our meetings this morning, the concept of mission fit, that the universities are seeking that. So it may be that you might even be a better student. I might be a better student than Brandy, but they're going to choose Brandy because Brandy is a mission fit for them. So that was really interesting to me, but also just the incredible difference of price was also significant. Services weren't terribly different, but price was significantly different. There was also, I think, as we look at what are the supplementary supports, we've been analyzing and studying, like, what are our needs, what do kids need? Do they need more help in essays? What are those things that they potentially need help on, and how could community education help families? There were price differences, but also I would say, I don't want to call them promises, but there were some that were, I'm not sure at the end of the day it was about fit as much as it was about potentially maybe over-helping in some of those application admissions. So I think there were some that I would have said that was true for. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. It was really great work, Tiffany.
Thank you. And it really was fascinating too, to really look, and I think that summarizes it well. Even Dr. Steiner and I were talking about how wonderful it felt that it was a true partnership. And when we really are looking at this and we're trying to look at how this is going to support all of our students, and having that collaborative partnership and having this as a complement to the amazing work that's already being done. And that was something that was brought from this organization as well, is they're recognizing that right away and wanting to adhere and adapt and work with us to be meeting the needs that we have.
Do they already partner with other schools in the area?
Yes, they do.
That's great.
So they've done a variety of different things, and they're really willing to kind of adapt and meet our specific needs of what we're hearing. So one of those is we'll have some stuff in the winter spring brochure that will be coming out. We're getting it in just in time. So and then we'll continue that throughout the summer, and then we're talking about what does that look like on a cyclical basis, so families have know what to expect, and how does that align with the timeline of when admissions need to be happening, and working with what's already being done from the guidance office and with our counselors. And so looking at that holistic approach, and so we're in the planning phases and beginning phases of what that will all look like. But one thing that has also come out of that is kind of what has been brought up from a parent understanding and parent support. And so we, hopefully everyone is familiar with our Supporting Our Spartan series that we have done through Orono Healthy Youth, and that this is such a wonderful way of providing support for parents and caregivers, as well as doing some speaker series. We know we have the parent night that's done from the high school, but what else can we be doing? How can this college connection or College Connectors support some of that by possibly either joining our parent nights or doing additional speaker series. In addition, our SPA group is interested in joining and hosting a series or a speaker event, and so we're in final phases of, or in planning phases of what that will be looking like as well. So with this, what's been really exciting for me, especially when we think of community education and lifelong learning and the touch points of all in our community, from our babies all the way throughout. And, you know, I think that high school, middle school age has always been an interesting area for community ed to really make some different impacts. And so I'm really excited about this work and this partnership. And I thank Dr. Steiner and the whole team for looking at community ed in this way of bringing in this additional complementary supplemental opportunities from not only a student perspective and their guidance, but also from a parent perspective of just what to expect and how to navigate and what does this mean and how do we bring the joy back into it a little bit so it doesn't seem so daunting and so we can have those conversations. So a lot to come, and we are working with a lot of local amazing community partners. We have a lot of wonderful experience right here in our community, so we're continuing to have lots of coffees and conversations to learn about anyone that wants to be involved or help as we are growing, kind of what this will look like.
Tiffany, I want to say that's what you just described is incredible. What an amazing resource to be offering to our parents. You sort of said it, but I want to either ask a question or make a suggestion. I'm not sure as a parent I would immediately think of community ed as where I'm going to go to get this good advice. I mean, and I might look at the brochure and say, yeah, that's for the fun stuff. I'm not going to look at it real seriously. How are you going to integrate it with the stuff that Dr. Steiner's doing so that people go, oh, wait a second, this is actually where I should be looking for some phenomenal support that's more than just a pickleball class.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying it's just pickleball, but that's, somebody's going to say, oh, that's just community ed.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's the wonderful and biggest problem with community ed, right? When you touch so much, everyone has a different interpretation of what that means. But I think in answer to your question is it's a partnership approach, and so as we are communicating out on the website, and as Dr. Steiner will be getting communications out, we'll have information in there, as well as those that are flipping through the brochure will have a QR code back to our amazing website that has the resources. So it'll be another way to lead parents back to the resources that we're providing within the school, as well as letting.
It's just new.
Yeah, yep, and we're lucky we have Lisa Campbell.
Today, we specifically talked about developing the timeline, kind of what you'd see in that college planning guide, that then on those points, it'd be the things the counselors do or we do in school, but then side by side would be end this, end this, if, like as add-ons. So trying to integrate it into one timeline.
You may want to, and not to get into the nitty-gritty, but people might really love it who use it this year to once it gets off, and ask parents to, write testimonials or share something like that.
Absolutely.
And then maybe it sounds like you're already in touch with SPA, so they're aware of this. I would also go to Home Spa.
Yeah, great. So very early stages, but yeah, feel free to jump in there.
I was just gonna say that's all part of the marketing communication plan. We know that that's an area that we need to continue to work on and make sure that everyone knows about all the wonderful opportunities, not only those, but that our counselors are doing as well right now. So.
I wanted to say thank you for this. With the freshmen, our counselor meeting is on Friday, and I am like, it cannot come soon enough. I would have been happy the first day of school, just so many questions. I know. So I think this is fantastic. And to what was said, I just feel like bold, all caps in the brochure. I think this is really going to help a lot of families and kids. And maybe it won't bring joy just yet, but Well, I think the result will be that it won't be so daunting and that in itself will be joyous. So I appreciate all this work. I'm excited to see how it goes.
Thank you. All right, so next steps, as we said, this is really
Because we
the-
just started.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is really just the beginning. I mean, it's kind of amazing. I wanna thank everyone on this team who's here tonight, but also Dr. Fleischer and Lisa Campbell and all the, school counselors who've been part of this. I mean, this has been a lot of work, and yes, we're just starting. So we have a lot to do. We're very happy with, what we've learned so far and the progress that we've made, but we know that we just will, continue to get better and grow and learn more. So we're gonna look at further outcome analysis, including gathering data from class of 2024, their admission, acceptance, and attending data, and also feedback throughout the process. Looking at additional tours for our counselors, again, not only they need to know our students, but they need to know the schools that our students want to go to or that they are going to, just to make sure that they can help with that fit. Maybe it's a niche program within a school, and administrators will be going to schools, connecting with that admissions office and really getting a face-to-face with them. So they know who we are and they're aware of the excellence that we have at Orono schools. And then Tiffany just talked about the community ed development supports, looking at advertising and marketing and communication with that as well. And just excited about continued learning. We've learned a lot in this process and it's great, it's really exciting. I think it's exciting for our students and our families, and again, maybe not joy, but if we can ease their process at all, and again, whatever their dreams are post-secondary, we want them to feel that they're known at Orono High School, and that we know we can help them get to that dream and achieve what they want. So we're just very excited.
I feel like this was a really great representation of the continuous improvement that you embody. I mean, this was a lot of work. And I know you love data, but I mean, it was a lot of work. And so thank you, because it helps us communicate the strength in very tangible ways when we're out in the community and talking about Orono. So I'm really excited. I'm glad, to be at the cutting edge of this at the beginning. I just want to say thank you so much for all of your work, and for Lisa and everybody who's not in the room, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more thing that we talk, so I think what's really unique about Orono that I very much appreciate, and I am starting to see having a high schooler, is that my brother is involved with admissions for a school, and in talking with him, he said, they get 60,000 applications, and everybody looks the same. And I think what is unique to Orono is not just the opportunities, but not the push, but the inspiration, I guess, for trying new clubs, new leadership within outside experiences. And I think that's really important, is that it's not just taking all the AP classes, but it's developing each kid, each student too. Mm-hmm. And I think continuing that is going to be really important for our students. So thank you.
I just had one other quick point, and I know you're just getting started, but just a thought, and then maybe it's a consideration you already had. For those students that are looking for selective schools, but are also athletes and looking to compete at the collegiate level, having gone through a little bit of that with my own son, it's very hard to navigate. And I don't know if that's something that our AD or our counselors can be a part of, not that they have to be intricately involved, but help understand steps. Because I do think there's, I'm hearing from a lot of parents with athletes that are interested D3, D2, D1, but it's very difficult to understand. And how do you balance those two, your academics and your athletics? It's a really hard thing for families to figure out. So just a thought.
Thank you.
I'd just like to compliment you. I mean, this is a great presentation, and I'll give Dr. Steiner the credit, but I think this is, Sarah, as you said about continuous improvement, that you guys identified this topic, this broad college preparation and college admissions, as something that we do really well at Orono, but this, I mean, overall we do well, but this was an area that we needed to improve in, and I guess you identified that as something that we needed to improve on and are making progress in that, and I think that's great. I mean, that's a sign of really good leadership, of being able to see those areas and take them on and come up with this kind of success. Did you want to say something, Laura? I quite didn't cut you off. Oh. All right, any more questions for this esteemed group? Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hopefully this part of the meeting gets lots of views on the website afterwards. But of course, they're gonna have this really cool guide, and they had their parent meeting, right? The freshmen will have their parent meeting, so they're gonna know all this stuff. Okay, our next item is any other new business. Is there any other new business that we need to do tonight? All right, the last item is our enrollment information. Additional information is our enrollment information, so you can see that at the end of your packet. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, December 11th at 7 p.m. in the District Assembly Room. We will have part of that as our Truth in Taxation hearing, correct? As well as we'll have our auditors present to present the audit of last year's financial results. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?